Hello and welcome to the Bustworthy YouTube page. I am your host, Matt Hartman, and today you see the title, we're getting into it. My official mock draft 3.0 with trades, with all the goodies and fun stuff. About, 2 weeks ago I made a just live kind of 31 pick first round mock draft, kind of just stick and pick for all 31 teams picking in the first round. And so I kind of looked at that and I'm like, it's not, it's not realistic. There's going to be trades that happen and everything. So I thought, let me do my own. Took a little bit. This was supposed to be recorded on Monday. Here we are on Thursday, and I'm kind of at a point where let's get into it. I mean, I've been waiting too long, procrastinating, recording, and then I recorded today, and it was over 80 minutes long, and it got corrupted. So now I am recording for the second time this video, but let's get into it. I mean, I think you can tell, new webcam, new microphones, so I mean, I am ready. I am draft season locked in, so let's get into it. T-minus 14 days, by the way, for the draft, but let's get into it. First, let's talk about some trades. Notable trades that I believe are plausible before draft night. Aaron Rodgers traded from the Green Bay Packers to the New York Jets for pick 42, pick 112, and a 2024 third-round pick that turns into a second-round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays football in 2024 or doesn't retire before the new league year begins in March. DeAndre Hopkins traded from the Arizona Cardinals. That Aaron Rodgers trade, self-explanatory. We already know it's going to happen. We just need the compensation. I pulled up the compensation. There you go. DeAndre Hopkins traded from the Arizona Cardinals to the Buffalo Bills for pick 91 and 137, or they would acquire a 2024 second round if they're willing to take on majority of the cap hit in 2023, which I think they should consider. I don't think Buffalo's going to pay a $30 million cap hit, and you're getting the better pick, maybe not now, but later. You're getting a second-round pick, which I think they would probably see as more value than 91 and 137, but I don't know. Maybe they value the quantity now. So that's why I have two kind of realistic packages that could happen. And then lastly, Trey Lance. This one's kind of a surprise, probably if you're on the outside. Trey Lance was the third overall pick in 2021, and it's just not hit so far in San Francisco. Brock Purdy, the way John Lynch, the GM, and Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, talk about Brock Purdy, there's a quote. Brock Purdy, it is his job to lose, talking about the starting quarterback position, and they signed Sam Darnold off of free agency. I don't think they signed Sam Darnold to be quarterback 3. I do believe Trey Lance is solidified as quarterback 3 at this moment, and I think they're looking to move him, and Minnesota makes all too much sense. Pick 119, which is a fourth-round pick, and a third-round pick that would turn into a second if he plays 50% of the snaps. Kind of just a flyer. If you liked him in the draft, this is all me projecting if they like the guy anyway. If you like this guy in the draft and you think there's potential there, he's still a pretty raw prospect. He's played 4 games, one of them being in a monsoon and the other being a quarter against the Seahawks in game 2, week 2. So he's still got a long way to go. I think he's still 22 years old. If you like him, throw him out there, and I don't think Kirk Cousins is back long term, so that's why this makes all too much sense to me. But without further ado, let's get into the actual mock draft. Let's get into pick 1 with the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. The Carolina Panthers select quarterback C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. Every single slide is going to look like this, pros and cons, 3 of each for every player. His pros: he throws from the pocket. He has the best accuracy and touch on throws in the class, and he has a snap release motion. Forgot to mention his mechanics. I think he is so mechanically sound from the pocket. He is just, they prototypical pocket passer, has the ideal size, 6'3", 210, 215, and he has the best accuracy and anticipation on throws. Um, he throws, with the lower part of his body. Everything is so fluid and in sync at all times. So I think this just makes the most sense. I think this is what Frank Reich is going to value in his quarterbacks. And going to get him just makes all the sense in the world. And then his cons, he holds onto the ball a little too much for my liking. There was times where he was taking a lot of sacks where you could have just used that athleticism, that functional athleticism, as we say, and just roll out, maybe make a play, maybe throw the ball away, maybe throw it up to Marvin Harrison Jr., and he'll make some plays. I guarantee it. We'll be talking about him next year on this channel. He doesn't have much creation outside the pocket, outside of the Georgia game, and that was in a game where everything seemed to go wrong. Marvin Harrison Jr. got knocked out of the game. Jackson Smith-Njigba didn't play. I think Travion Henderson, their running back, didn't play. There was just a lot of variables that I'm like, he kind of was in a place where he was the only form of offense, so he kind of went go big or go home. I don't think that's what he wants to be play in and play out. That is why I see it as a con more than a pro, but what we like to say in draft season, the guy can do it. We saw the guy do it, which is very important. So being able to know when you're drafting this guy, he has in his arsenal. Maybe he's not going to do it, 30% of the time, but he has it in his arsenal. And if we can maximize that, then we are getting a great player. And then he has a lack of elite arm strength on downfield throws. I don't think this is a major. He has an NFL caliber arm. I kind of just mentioned this because there are two players in this class up north, near the top, in Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, that do have elite arm strength. So in comparison, kind of, there is a difference. But let's get into the second pick. For the second pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, Houston Texans select Bryce Young, quarterback, out Alabama. This one is just lock it in. If CJ Stroud is number one, lock in Bryce Young to the Texans. Makes all the sense in the world. Bryce Young, his pros, he thrives under pressure and chaos, extends plays time and time again, and his throwing motion has a zip off of any release point, so he can really zip the ball into any window from any release point. My favorite nickname for him is Mr. Slow Motion. He just slows the game down. He is unfazed by anything that you throw at him. Love watching that Tennessee game. Another game that was so good was the Texas game late in that game. My favorite team, I know I'm wearing a UCLA Bruins kind of tank top, but the Texas Longhorns are my favorite football team, and watching him just be able to manipulate down the field with no playmakers besides Jahmyr Gibbs, his running back, and be able to get into field goal territory and win that football game was just unbelievable. The guy is unbelievable. And so he's my quarterback one. But you're also going, Matt, why would he not go number one overall then? His size. I think size concerns are the biggest thing. He's 5'10", 204 is what he weighed in at the combine. People say, scouts say he kind of weighed closer to 185 to 190 for playing weight. Kind of put on a lot of pounds for to make that number look better than it actually is. It's a fib number. 204 is not what he's going to play at. He did the classic Kyler Murray that I feel like a lot of guys who come into the NFL maybe a little undersized, because I do think there will be a little bit of a renaissance in that fact. I think guys are going to do, their scout, their agents and things like that are going to go tell them, yo, go drink a bunch of water, weigh in at the combine, weigh in Indy, do your interviews, and then just wait a few weeks, get that size back down, and then throw at your pro day, which is what Bryce Young did. Also, in more cons, he has lack of elite arm strength again, just like CJ Stroud. It's not a major concern. He has an NFL caliber arm. Maybe not as NFL caliber as CJ Stroud. I do believe it does lose zip really when it goes down the field, but I don't know how, you know, how much guys are going to be throwing at 50 yards, how often. He has beautiful touch, so it really doesn't have, he doesn't need to throw a fastball on a 50-yard pass. And then his last con drops back deep in the pocket, which is hard to sustain for tackles. This is just for him to see because he is small, at 5'10", so it's harder to sustain for tackles because he's widening the pocket, so it's easier for edge rushers to dip around those tackles because there's so much more space they have to cover now because he is so susceptible to dropping back deep in the pocket. But let's get into the third pick. The third pick, we have a trade to announce. The third overall pick is traded from the Arizona Cardinals along with pick 168 for pick 8, pick 44, pick 110, and then a second round in 2024, a second round in a fourth round pick in 2024, and Casey Hayward Jr. So let's talk about, let's first talk about the Cardinals. The Cardinals need assets. The Cardinals need bodies. The Cardinals need players. This is the best way to get it. Move down 5 spots. Maybe you're taking yourself out of Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, but you need bodies more than anything, more than I think blue chip talent right now. So being able to get 5 impact, I don't want to say impact, but 5 possible impact starters and Casey Hayward, who coming in will probably be CB1 for them because they lost Byron Jones in free agency. But that's what the Cardinals need. Let's get to the Falcons, who are trading up for the third overall pick. The Atlanta Falcons were linked to not being interested in Lamar Jackson, who would fit their offense like a T, to a T. I think I just butchered that. But he is the perfect quarterback for that offense. Why are they not willing to offer him? And they're saying, oh, well, we like Desmond Ridder, who is a third-round pick who has played 4 games. You know why? Because I think there's a guy in this draft class who fits their offense even better. And he's cheaper. And yes, he's going to cost that draft capital. But he's a guy who's going to come in and immediately maximize their offense. You know what quarterback I'm talking about. It's Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida. He has towering size at 6'4", 244 pounds. It's linebacker size. That's ridiculous. He is a quarterback. He is the greatest athlete we have ever seen at the combine. If we saw a linebacker run a 4.43, jump almost 11 feet in the broad, and then jump 40 inches in the vert, we'd be calling that guy a unique linebacker talent. This guy is a quarterback. Ridiculous stuff. He has a lead arm strength downfield. He is everything you want when you are turning up the sliders in Madden. He is Gen Z Randall Cunningham is what I've compared him to. I don't really see the Josh Allen too much. We're just comparing size there. I do see Cam Newton somewhat, because he is a massive individual, but he is just so perfect physically. But why wouldn't he go number 1 then? He is a super raw prospect. Only 13 career starts at Florida. His primary weakness, these bottom 2 kind of link together. His primary weakness is accuracy, and footwork can be a problem when letting it fly. I feel like when the guy is it's like an NBA player shooting threes. I feel like the more you think about it, the more he's kind of standing in the pocket, kind of telegraphing where he's going to go with the ball. His footwork can be a problem, and it affects his accuracy. Where I feel like when he's rolling out of the pocket, making plays, less time to think, just kind of rip it and go, it looks beautiful. It really does. So it's there. That is why I am not in favor of just sit him. Just sit him. Here with the Falcons, you're in the opportunity to sit him if you want. If you do believe in Desmond Ridder, you can say, hey, Desmond, go out there and play, whatever you want. And Anthony Richardson will be behind, kind of just, mentally getting there with the processing and things like that, kind of working on his mechanics. So I do believe if the Falcons draft him, they're kind of putting themselves in a place where they could do either one. If they want him to start day one and they kind of just do what they did last year with Marcus Mariota, where they work within 10 yards running the ball and kind of screens out to Pitts and Drake London, they can do that, while also having the opportunity to let it fly with Anthony Richardson and throw it 80 yards because the guy can. But that's it. That's what I believe. I do believe that Anthony Richardson makes the most sense for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't buy this. And also the NFC South. The NFC South is so wide open. If you bring in Anthony Richardson and he explodes off rip, you could realistically win that division, I do believe. And I'm a Saints fan, so let's get into the fourth pick. With the fourth pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Colts select Will Anderson. You're probably going, wrong Will. Should be Will Levis. They need a quarterback. It just doesn't make sense to me. If Will Anderson is staring you at the face, the three top quarterbacks are on the board, unless you're in love with Will Levis, which I am not. I do not have Will Levis as a top 10 prospect. He might be just outside my top 15. He is a late first round grade to me. So I don't believe you should take him at pick 4 when Will Anderson, a true blue chip prospect, is staring you in the face at a position of magnitude. Edge rusher, pass rusher is the second most valuable position in all of football. So it just makes the most sense. His pros is an unreal first step and get off that generates amazing, great speed to power. He can bend with some of the best in the league, and he has a legitimate sack and run game production all 3 years at Alabama. His cons, he has questions about motor and down-to-down activeness. I put a lot of quotes here. Not an overwhelming athlete, but he's still a very good athlete. And then finally, I just looked at those two, and I'm like, I'm just looking for issues. I'm looking for problems. And he just doesn't have many. When we're talking about his motor and being an overwhelming athlete, he's not a one-of-a-kind athlete like Trayvon Walker, but he's still a very good athlete. I think you're just looking for problems. He's a great athlete. He's a great, he's great in the run game. He's great in the pass rush game. He is the, best player in this draft outside of, depending on how you feel about Jalen Carter. Positional value, he's better than Bijan Robinson, who I love, of course, as a Texas fan. But yeah, Will Anderson makes way too much sense to pass on him in favor of Will Levis to me. Next, we get into the 5th overall pick. Tyree Wilson, edge out of Texas Tech. His pros, elite size and wingspan. He has good production while having the upside to improve, and he has a very good motor and doesn't take plays off. His cons, he doesn't have the explosive get-off and burst at the line of scrimmage. His hand skills have ways to go as an edge rusher, and he does get confused at processing the play and loses his contain in the run game. Tyree Wilson, period. He is a boom or bust prospect, but I do believe Seattle has the patience and time to wait, to not go, hey, come in and instantly be an instant impact, but kind of, let's get this guy in the room, let's find the role for him, let's find where he thrives, and then we go from there. And I think that's what they want to do here. Has amazing size. He's comparable to Trayvon Walker, who was picked number 1 overall last year. It just makes a ton of sense. He didn't test at the combine or his pro day. He's dealing with a foot issue, so I feel like people don't understand the kind of athlete that he is. But this is a boomer bust pick. I feel like a lot of, and there have been rumors, a lot of scouts have Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson. They kind of have a similar grade among scouts, which is crazy to think about. But with the renaissance of Trayvon Walker and guys like that who are just unbelievable athletes, teams are going to be willing to continue to take their risk on unbelievable and one-of-a-kind athletes, which Tyree Wilson falls under that category. Next, we get into the 6th overall pick. This one is chalk. I keep picking it. Everyone in NFL draft media keeps picking it, and now they trade Jeff Okudah. Makes it even easier to pick it. Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. His pros, he is feisty at the point of attack and at catch point. He is very instinctive and has the production to show it with 14 pass breakups in 2022, and he is very good route recognition on routes down the field. His cons, he does get a bit grabby past the 5 yard. The limit top speed is an issue and does get him in trouble if he gets behind during at the line of scrimmage at the snap, and he does get fooled by play action and double moves. But he did get better down the stretch, resulting in 14 pass breakups. It's kind of just a boomer bust corner. He doesn't have overwhelming size, I will mention, but he's just. I feel like everyone saw the Indiana play where he just lays the boom. He plays with attitude. He plays with aggression. He plays with competitiveness that you just love to see at corner. And, well, he's a kneecap biter, period. And that's why you love sticking him with the Lions here. It's a beautiful pairing. Just a great come in and immediately be a starting level corner. And there's not really I want to say the expectation, doesn't feel like the word, but he doesn't need to be a high-level producer year one. They signed Cam Sutton. They brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They have Emmanuel Mosley. Kind of let him come along. Maybe, you put him on the boundary, of course, but you kind of ease him into it, and then you'll find out that he is a great corner. It's that simple. I think they have the pieces in place where he is not thrusted into the spotlight immediately, but some guys like being thrusted in the spotlight. Look at the guy in New York, Sauce Gardner, who is quite possibly the best corner in the entire NFL after year one. So some guys like being thrusted in the spotlight, but Devon Witherspoon makes all the sense in the world for the Detroit Lions at 6. Next, we get to the 7th overall pick. We have a trade to announce. The Raiders are trading pick 7 for pick 1265, 161, and a 4th-round pick in 2024. And it's easy. I think the Raiders, again, just like maybe not to the extent that the Cardinals are, but they do need bodies. They need talent, and I think picking up, 2 picks inside the top 65 while picking up a late 5th-rounder with a 4th next year to move down 5 spots and still get a guy they probably will get at pick 7 while giving up the guy on this board, the guy who's going to be drafted who claims wasn't even on their board. It's Jalen Carter with the 7th overall pick. The Houston Texans select Jalen Carter. His pros, he gets out of the stance into a game position, which is kind of stopping the run and being a pass rusher at an unbelievable time. He has great hand movement and swim move to close gaps in the run game, and when he has the leverage, it's over. He wins with his raw power and muscle. He's a huge guy, quite possibly the best player in this draft, depending on who you talk to, but his cons, number one, his major concern is the off the field issues. They seem to be resolved, but I do think that they still will be a red flag to some. There's been talks that the Raiders took him off their board completely, but then they hosted him for a visit. I don't know. Jalen Carter didn't take visits outside of the top 10, so that is meaningful to me, kind of in the interview process, because teams can trade up. And then his cons on the football field, sometimes he gets outpowered by uniquely shaped and sized guards. Look at Osiris Torrance. Osiris Torrance was a very built, broad, upper body power blocker, and Osiris Torrance kind of handled him in the Florida and Georgia game this year. And then he needs more diversity in the pass rush. I feel like he's just kind of, let me go win with power. Let me go win with my unique power every time. And some guys like Osiris Torrance, who can match that power for power, kind of stop him. So I do believe this is an amazing pick for the Houston Texans. They're getting Bryce Young. They're getting Jalen Carter, who on some boards might be the top 2 picks, the top 2 players. They are at a point where they have the draft capital. They need to think about acquiring the star talent. And here it is. Here's the star talent. If he falls to 7, go up and get him. Giving up 65, I feel like should be an easy price to pay because he's an elite level player when he's on the field. Next, we get into pick 8, the Arizona Cardinals, of course, in the trade with the Atlanta Falcons. Select Lucas Van Ness. This is kind of early for him. I think a lot of people, I am very high on him, so that is why I have him going at pick 8. He has a great frame with unbelievable power when he connects with tackles. He explodes out of his stance to win the neutral zone, which is kind of the line of scrimmage area where where the mesh point, where the tackles and the edge rushers meet. And then he has real play strength and anchor that will have scheme versatility and can play inside. Some people project him as an interior D lineman, where I think he's just so unbelievable on the edge with his power that you have to put him at edge. I think he explodes through tackles. It's ridiculous. His cons, he doesn't use his hands as much as liked. He doesn't have the amazing foot speed when going inside to rush the passer, and he just needs more reps to learn how to finish. Of course, this is how Iowa works. He wasn't even a starter. I'm picking the 8th overall pick. I'm not even picking a starter. Think about that. But he is a guy. It's because Iowa prioritize some colleges do this. They prioritize senior play and prioritize experience more than talent, and that's why they were Iowa this year. And some years they're Iowa. Some years they're playing in the Big Ten championship. But this is an Iowa podcast. This is a mock draft video. He just needs more time, needs more experience, needs to just keep going. And I feel like he will, if you can get him with a guy who's gonna teach him the ways of being a pass rusher with his hands and his feet, more than just you can just run through that guy because you're more powerful than him. Well, now you're meeting who's a tackle? Who's a tackle in that draft? Now you're meeting Trent Williams. You can't just run through Trent Williams every time. You got to figure out how to kind of let me win this way. Let me win inside this play. Now I can kind of explode him off his feet. But Lucas Van Ness, he's another raw prospect just like Tyree Wilson, but I do believe having an unbelievable power trait makes him worth the 8th overall pick, even if it is a little early. With the 9th pick, the Chicago Bears select Paris Johnson, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Come on, they're quarterbacks from Ohio State. His pros, very good to elite run blocker and zone blocking schemes, which is what the Bears prioritize in the run scheme. He got better with time with his footwork and hand techniques, and then rarely gave up pass rush pressures late in the season. He was very good in that Michigan game, besides, I think, one penalty. His cons, he rocks in his stance and pass production, which leaves him available to get beat by swim and inside moves. He has inconsistent pad level, and sometimes sometimes in the run game he will whiff on blocks, and it shows, you can see it. And then his own power can displace his own anchor in pass sets. So sometimes he's too powerful for his own good. And so he's just got to be able to set his anchor in pass sets and be able to kind of counter that power. Say a Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness played amazing against Paris Johnson because he just was able to just run through him. So we'll see. I think that Chicago will be able to lean him in as a run first tackle immediately coming in. He'll play probably the right side, I think, with Braxton Jones at left side. So, this is all about prioritizing getting the best 5 players on the offensive line that they can for the Chicago Bears, and Paris Johnson would be one of those guys. Next, we get into pick 10. We have a trade to announce. 3 trades in the top 10, along with the Panthers trading up to 1. Crazy year. I know all of these trades are going to happen, but the Philadelphia Eagles are trading pick number 10 for pick 14 and pick 76 to the New England Patriots. And the New England Patriots are going to select Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle / guard out of Northwestern. just get a tackle, get a guard. This feels like a Bill Belichick player because he is just a guy you can get on the field and he's gonna make an impact for his quarterback, for his young quarterback in Mac Jones. His pros, he's the best experience in the class at left tackle, over 2,200 snaps at left tackle at Northwestern. He has the best hand technique in the class, along with very good footwork. He's just so mechanically sound and technically sound at left tackle. Just makes all the sense in the world. And then he has true inside and out flexibility. People have said, hey, maybe he's a Pro Bowl guard, but he could be an all-pro guard. Or he's Pro Bowl tackle, all-pro guard. Messed it up. Can't believe it. Cons, his short arms create problem with projection at tackle. I feel like some people are going to be kind of scared off by his arm size, which some people already are. But yeah, I think that he's so technically sound, he makes up for it. He doesn't always get his hands attached to the pass rusher due to the short arms, and his play strength might not be strong enough to be a down-to-down tackle. All my cons are kind of, hey, this guy might not be he might not be an all-pro tackle, but he can be an all-pro guard. And I truly believe that. So I think just getting that guy in the room for the Patriots makes a ton of sense. So yeah. With the 11th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State. There's not a lot of sure things in this wide receiver class. I'll just say it. This guy is. I am in on it. He can beat both pass coverage and man and zone at an elite level, period. He can. His short area quickness is next level compared to everyone in this class and in the NFL. His 3-cone at a 6.57, and he's great poise on deep ball tracking, shown in that Utah game right there where he had, I think, over 300 receiving yards. His cons. He might lack outside versatility as a wide receiver from the outside on the boundary. He has size to do it. Some guys in this class don't have the size to do it. Some guys weigh 180 pounds. Some guys weigh 170. He is 6 foot 190. He just might not have the top end speed to be able to be on the outside. Most, if not all, his production came in 2021, and he missed all but 3 games in 2022 due to injury. How real is that injury is what teams are probably asking, and I don't know. Is it? I think he looked fully healthy at the combine when he was doing his short area drills, and then his top end speed is average at best. He ran a 4.2. I don't think he's that fast. I don't. I think it's a fast track at Ohio State. I think he's kind of a 4.2, 4.55 guy, but he comps so identically to Julian Edelman. He comps so identically to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Guess what? If you knew you were getting Julian Edelman or Amon-Ra St. Brown in this draft class, they would go at 11 too. And I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is that. He's not an overwhelming athlete. He isn't by any means. But he wins at receiver. He just wins. And I think teams are going to value that, especially the Titans. With the 12th pick in the 2023 draft, the Vegas Raiders select Joey Porter Jr., who I believe they would have taken at 7 if they could, because Devon Witherspoon was off the board. Of course, Joey Porter Jr., the son of Joey Porter, Super Bowl champion, as shown below. His pros. He is the most physical and beat-you-up corner in this class at the line of scrimmage and top of routes. He is so physical. He has very smart hand usage, helps him in the long run when everything else seems a tick late. So I feel like he just will always have his mechanically sound hands and physicality to be there when everything else may not always be there. And he can win at the catch point like a wide receiver from anywhere, which is unique to guys at the cornerback position. Long frame, that's why he can do it. His cons. Does get grabby at the top of routes when he loses leverage outside of 5 yards, just like Devon Witherspoon. I keep mixing that up. He definitely has a noticeable change of direction agility problem on tape, is what a lot of people have said, and you can see it kind of coming back to attack the ball. He just seems to tick late sometimes. And then he doesn't have enough twitch to stay with every receiver you put in front of him, but he will beat up that receiver. He will. He will be the more physical guy. And it just makes the most sense for the Raiders. I think just putting that guy on the outside, being able to throw him at whatever the Chiefs have, throw him at Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and throw him at Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. I think it makes the most sense. So I really like this pick, and it's a pick I probably would have made at 7 with Devon Witherspoon off the board. We have a trade. Pick 13. The Jets are trading pick 13, and the Commanders are coming up 3 spots, trading 16, 97, 215, and round 4. Kind of a lot in that middle part this year and next year to move up 3 spots, but it is to prioritize getting over the Eagles at 14 so they can draft Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. The cornerback run kind of going here. I think the Washington Commanders are just prioritizing getting a corner in the room, and Christian Gonzalez, overall, he is the best athlete tester at this position, and he has the best combo of size and speed, 4.38 40, 11 foot broad, and 41-inch vert. He plays so loose and fluid. His hips are so intact with his body. He just moves as one. It doesn't look hard for him. And he has real top-end speed to help him when he does get in trouble down the field. I forgot to mention, he also has a pretty sizable frame at 6'2", 205, just like Joey Porter. So he has that ability to play outside. He has that size. And he has real 2-year production. He played at Colorado last year and then played at Oregon this past year, and he had very good production in both those years. His cons, his instincts in making plays on the ball in contested catch scenarios do need work. And he doesn't have the feel for jumping routes at the top of breaks, and he's slow to get his head around when the ball is thrown downfield. Just kind of learning getting the cornerback position down. I think but you're willing to gamble on the best athlete, and just the way he plays so loose, I think it just makes the most sense. But if he can get his instincts down and really that breakability on the ball, and he can break in short yard situations and just close the gap with receivers, I think he can be an excellent corner at the next level. Next, we get into the 14th pick. Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. It's early. It is. It's early for a running back, but this guy only gets Hall of Fame comps by people who are well respected in this business, who have been around a long time, and you watch him and he's just so good. Maybe this is Texas propaganda, but I feel like anything I say about Bijan Robinson, you've already heard. His contact balance and breaking tackles might be the best we've ever seen in a decade. He had over 100 forced missed tackles in 2022 alone. He has such a sudden runner, which makes him so hard to tackle, and he has true 3-down / bell cow / receiving back ability that is unseen since Saquon Barkley. Let me take a sip of water first. But he is truly one of a kind at the position, and I think taking him at 14 is early. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but just plugging him into the Eagles team right now, if their goal is to win a Super Bowl, which it should be, putting Bijan Robinson on that team now adds even more to the run game. That a guy like, I get it. They have a committee. They have a running back committee. But it's by design, not by desire. They had Miles Sanders. They let him walk for a reason. They have Boston Scott, who is nothing more than the third back. Kenny Gainwell is very, game dependent. I feel like depends game on game. And Bijan Robinson is a true put him in no matter the scenario, and he's going to make a play. He is going to be a factor that a team has to account for, and I don't believe that there is a better, there's not a better running back in this class, and he might be a top 3 player. He is a top 3 player to me. It just makes too much sense to me. His cons, he will need to adjust to the NFL by not bouncing around waiting for the perfect hole like college, because the gaps are going to close quicker. His top end speed isn't elite, but he's still a 4.4 guy, sub 4.5 in the 4.4s. He is still very good. He still has very good speed. It's just not elite, and he, like I said, he still has home runs. And then I feel like I'm looking for issues more like Will Anderson. Draft the guy so you can get him the ball and he's going to flourish. Period. End of discussion. Anything you've heard about Bijan Robinson, anything you're hearing from me, you've already heard probably 1,000 times. So I don't need to keep going. Next, we get into the 15th pick. The Green Bay Packers select Dalton Kincaid. His pros, he threats the seam vertically at an elite level and rate. Very good athlete with unique catch radius at 6'4", 250. Everything as a receiver is off the charts for a tight end. Separates at an above average level. Hands are sticky, and ball tracking is amazing. All his pros are the same thing. He does one part of the tight end position very well at a unique receiver size. Everything else is kind of different. He's a liability, and he's not good as a run blocker. He gets knocked off his base when running through contact after the catch, and he's physical and strong. In-your-face defenders will give him a hard time down the field. I just think that he would fit so well with a guy like Jordan Love, who wants to, threat the middle of the field, and it's what the Packers are gonna miss. Losing Allen Lazard. They just need to put a body in there, whether it be a first-round receiver. I don't think there is a receiver that meets their threshold besides Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is off the field. They don't draft guys under 190 pounds. They just don't do it. And all these guys are. Besides Quentin Johnston, who has a hands issue, I will talk about. So it just makes the most sense. I feel like this pick has been seen so many times, but it's for a good reason. He makes the most sense. I don't think there's a better pick here. So we're gonna put Dalton Kincaid in a Packers uniform. The 16th pick, halfway there. The New York Jets in that trade with the Commanders, they select Broderick Jones. Another reason they traded down, by the way, I didn't mention, is they're losing draft capital in their Rodgers trade. They got to recoup some and still get a tackle, so it just makes the most sense. I feel like I missed that. Didn't talk about the Jets side of the trade. He has the traits to be an immediate force and factor in the run game, and he drives defenders back with his strong hands, and he has the body control and athleticism to make every block needed in both run sets and pass pro. He's very good athletically. He does need additional help in pass production, using more consistent leverage and not stopping his feet as much. He relies on athleticism, which college guys do, and length when rushed. Mentioned it. A lot of young players do this. It just is what it is. You got to kind of refine his technique, and you can still rely on that athleticism from play to play, but it's kind of not the only thing. And then he only had 22 career starts, 11 at left tackle. Doesn't have a clear NFL projection on the line. He is a tackle, but there's no he projects as a left tackle. Yeah, he projects as a right tackle. He is better on this side or this side. So I do believe that I don't want to say concern, but that is something to bring up. With the 17th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Steelers select DeWand Jones. This is kind of early for him, but I do believe someone's going to fall in love with him, and why can't the Pittsburgh Steelers? Superhuman size at offensive tackle, 6'8", 375 with an 87 7/8 wingspan with 11-inch arms. That's insane. That's crazy. That's crazy. Um, it's just, and he has good movement and agility for someone the size of a bear. I forgot I put that. Um, if he gets a hold of the edge rusher in pass sets, they just don't go anywhere. He's just too big. He's too strong. He's too powerful, and that's why you see the Pittsburgh black and yellow on him, and you're just like, that guy's gonna be mean. That guy's gonna be nasty. His cons, penalties are an issue. Each of the past 2 seasons, he's had 8. I think he's just refining his technique. Speed off the edge gets him second guessing himself, and he just isn't quick enough to counter his agility. I feel like if you throw a guy like who's in this draft, Nolan Smith, at him, and you just told Nolan Smith run around him, there's gonna be some holding calls on DeJuan Jones because it's just he's not as fast off the line. And he doesn't execute move blocks with consistency despite the massive size. That's just more of the technique. He's just a superhuman. And you're kind of banking on, hey, you're a superhuman. You are insanely massive. But you're not like, there's something there. There was a guy last year, Daniel Falalele out of Minnesota. He was one thing. He could move you in the run game. He was a liability in pass pro. There is something there with DeJuan Jones. You can see it. You can see the speed and agility. And so that is why I am willing to take the risk of him at, even if it's early, 17. I feel like a lot of people have him in the second round. I just think someone's going to fall in love with him, and I really love him as a prospect because I'm just banking on that size. And it's, it's fun to bank on size. It's fun to bank on an outlier. A good outlier more than a bad one. With the 18th pick, he is finally off the board. Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. If you love him enough, why didn't you take him at 6? He's not worth the 6th overall pick. Will Levis, his pros. He has gifted arm talent with above average athleticism at prototypical size. I don't know what prototypical size is anymore. Guys just keep getting smaller and smaller. And it also makes him a good running threat. He played in a pro-style passing attack under Liam Cohen in 2021, which produced his best tape. He has true snap-release motion, which mixed with a good balance of off-balance throws from different angles. And he's tough as nails. He played through serious injuries. People talk about that all the time. In 2022, it just makes the most sense for the Detroit Lions. I don't think you're chasing the ceiling. I mean, of course you are, but I feel like it's just banking on Jared Goff to continue to do what he did is worse than drafting Will Levis at 18. I think Will Levis has no, expectation to come in day one and rocket up boards and blow up the NFL. But if you give him the time, you give him the reps behind the scenes, and you kind of just go, hey, let's learn, you already know this pro style, let's kind of work together to put this all together. And in 2024, they can come together and say, you're the starting quarterback. I think it just makes a ton of sense. But his cons, he's not a good rhythm passer. Doesn't have big-time confidence in what he sees post-snaps. It led to sacks. He would, stare down guys all the time and then try and make plays and get sacked. That is also a credit to Kentucky's supporting cast being very not good. And he falls into throwing from bad angles instead of standing tall with feet set and taking a hit. That's a habit you want to break. That you want to be able to tell this guy, hey, you gotta, stand in there. Take that. You are tough as nails. You can, you are hurt. I get it. But if you stand in there and you keep your feet set, you're going to make that throw. You have the arm strength. You have the talent to make that throw. So that's what I believe. I think makes a ton of sense at 18. I just don't know where to put him. I put him in this exact spot last mock draft. I just don't know where to put him. I don't think Washington pursues a quarter. I think teams are keeping their window open for Lamar Jackson. And Detroit also could be keeping their window open if they don't want to take Will Levis here. So it just, I don't know. I have struggled finding a place for him. The next pick could have been him, but of course he's off the board. We get to the 19th pick. Brian Branch, corner/safety out of Alabama, one of my favorite players in this class. He is so good. He is, if he had size, if he had a little more, size, you see it in cons, this guy could be on my blue chip, board. I believe that. I love Brian Branch, man. His football IQ is second to none in this class at his position. He has range to play the center fielder, which is a single high safety, while having so many slot cornerback snaps in production there, which they call the star position in college. He has true cornerback skills like ball hawking and mirroring on routes with fluid hips and sound feet. He's just so mechanically sound. I don't find a way where Brian Branch isn't a successful NFL player. His size is a question mark. Maybe you don't think he's a every down safety, but 6'1", 190 isn't small. It's not, ridiculously small. But it's ideal size for a slot CB, but it's hard to draft a slot CB at 19. He's not an overwhelming athlete that jumps off the page, but not unathletic, and he needs to read the catch point a little bit better. There was times where he would go up a tad early or a tad late, so just being able to read that a little more and make more pass breakups would help him out in the long run. Next, we get to the 20th pick. We have a trade. The Saints, my football team. Come on. It can't be the first round of an NFL draft without the Saints trading up, baby. Come on. Trading up 9 spots. The Seahawks moving down. They will draft a player I would have picked at 20. He is still there. But the Saints come up, get their guy. This is another guy who could be there at 29, but this is the Saints just getting their guy. Miles Murphy, edge rusher out of Clemson. He has the ideal NFL size to meet any team's want for scheme versatility. He has a very sudden, quick first step while using an effective long arm move in pass rush. And he's active in the run game, can tighten gaps with good size while crashing down hard. He's a great athlete. He just tested. He had a hamstring injury. He tested very good, so I do believe he will meet the Saints' criteria with that. His cons, he looks like he has zero plan with rushing the passer. He has a long arm move that kind of moves the guy. That was most of his sack production, most of his pass rush production. I feel like he's just going, I'm going to win with this, and if I don't, then I don't. He slows his own momentum by doing too much with his legs. And he doesn't have an inside counter when he gets beat. The rep is seemingly over for him. Just being able to put him in a scheme, kind of go, this is, of course it's the same thing, but this is what you're good at. Let's kind of maximize that, or let's kind of tighten wound your game all around, which I think the Saints would be able to do. And they need an edge rusher. They need D-line help. And Miles Murphy maybe isn't instantly thrusted into, maybe first year he's kind of a third down rusher, and then next year you can kind of find the perfect role for him, but no pressure for him to come in and immediately set the world on fire. With the 21st pick in the 2023 draft, the Chargers select Zay Flowers out of Boston College. I love Zay Flowers. Some people aren't going to love Zay Flowers, and the con at the top is why. But let's talk about the pros. He's very sudden and nuanced with his movement to create separation. He just plays the game fast. His routes are very fast, and he continues his momentum through his turns and breaks, and he has true after-the-catch skills, like breaking tackles, not as much as you were hoping in his last senior year, but he did have tackle-breaking production, and he does have home run ability. But we get to the cons. He's small, has small hands, he has short arms, he's compact. He projects as a slot. He's going to be a slot. But I think when you're the Chargers, you are able to take a slot receiver with speed because you have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the outside. He's still finding his way around spotting and sitting down in zone holes, and he's expected to lack play strength and winning at the catch point often because of size. He did put on 10 to 12 pounds of muscle before the combine, so that was kind of a, hey, NFL, I'm not 170. You know, if you want me to catch up to your size, I'll do it. And he did it. So I think he's just showing everyone, hey, I didn't lose much of my, twitchiness and nuanced speed. I'm still a 4.4 guy, but here's this strength I added. I love Zay Flowers. I think he's one of the best receivers in this class. He just has a very limited role. I think he has a very limited ceiling. But if you're putting him in a position to succeed where he is not the number one guy against the number one corner, you're kind of like, this guy is number 3 on a good day right away, and then you kind of keep going, and then he could, turn into a one-of-a-kind slot receiver. I don't know. I think he's just a fantastic player. Next, we get into the 22nd pick. This is where it's weird with Odell. I think him and Quentin Johnston are very, I don't want to say similar, but they attack the middle of the field the same way. His pros, he has great size, length, and speed for a Model X receiver. He cuts hard at the top of routes to create separation, and his speed really shows up when he plays outside the numbers. But he doesn't play 6'3". Doesn't play what the body God gave him. 64% contested catch rate. He has a drop issue, 11.8 drop percentage, and he has a tendency to telegraph his routes. Kind of, you can tell what he's doing. It's just, he's a weird prospect. He is 6'3", 210, and he plays like Zay Flowers, and he plays at that size. It's weird. He's a weird NFL projection. I don't know where he's gonna go. If he fell out of the first round, I would be surprised. But this is kind of the range, I think. I think someone in the 20s is going to value him to either A, go up for him, or just value his speed. But yeah, he's a very hard NFL projection because you just don't know. You just don't know what he is. He's this size, but he plays like he's way smaller. Next, we get into the 23rd pick. The Minnesota Vikings select Deonte Banks, cornerback out of Maryland. Love Deonte Banks. Ridiculous combo of athleticism, size, and length all put together. Has the experience in any scheme that can run in the NFL, and he has fluid lower body movement. His cons, he doesn't have good zone instincts. He has rough footwork and overall hand placement when thrown in press, and he is a grabby corner, and you're looking at that going, everything is bad, huh? I think it's more of this guy's got the athletic traits. He's got everything. He's got the scheme versatility. He knows what he's doing. He just needs to put it all together, and I think taking that risk on him, I would be willing to take that risk on him. I love Deonte Banks just because you can see what player he is if he does put everything together. It's unique. It's one of a kind because he did run in the 4.3s. He did jump in the 40 inches in the vert. So it shows. Next, we get into the 24th pick. Nolan Smith, edge rusher, goes to the Jaguars. Also, the Minnesota Vikings just need a quarterback talent. I feel like I'm not, some of these I'm explaining. Okay. Maybe, the Ravens need wide receiver help, but not as much anymore. The Vikings just need cornerback help. I got to start talking more about where he fits, where the player fits. But Nolan Smith, edge rusher to the Jaguars. Hey, let's take an athletic edge rusher out of Georgia. It's never, that's a great idea. I think that's the Jaguars' motto. Georgia pass rusher no matter what. His pros, he's outstanding athlete overall at the edge position. Very sudden off the line with his burst, and he's good at shedding blocks and tracking down runners in the run game. But his cons, you see it, one word, he's small. He's 6'2". He's 240 on a good day. He doesn't have down-to-down speed-to-power ability, and he lacks ability in counter moves, and if he doesn't win off initial burst, he's done. I think Nolan Smith is hard because if you bring him here to Jacksonville, I think he's in the perfect place where he's not an every down pass rusher. You let Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker be the number ones, and you kind of have him as a third down rusher where you can kind of sprinkle him around. But it's hard to project him in the NFL too. You're just banking on the overall athlete that is Nolan Smith, which could be amazing. I mean, his numbers are unique, one of a kind. Ran in the 4.3s as a 240 edge rusher. That's unbelievable. With the 25th pick, the New York Giants select Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. His pros, his instincts are off the charts, and ability to win at the catch point contributed to multiple pick sixes. Has excellent ball tracking and ball skills on downfield throws. Looks like a wide receiver at times. Has fluid movement with the ability to chase down anything with 4.3 speed. He's a slender body, 166 pounds at the combine, which will also affect his ability and activeness in the run game. He's very aggressive on double moves, gets him in trouble from time to time, and he doesn't quite have the play strength to be a down-to-down boundary corner. I don't want to, I'm kind of stealing this, so I'm going to give credit, but that franchise guy on YouTube, he had, a perfect, if you can put Emmanuel Forbes in a Fangio-type scheme where he's playing that off quarters and you let him rely on his speed and he's just his ball skills, he could be amazing. He could be very, very good. I don't think, he's not down-to-down, physical guy because he is so slender. But if you're putting him in that quarters-heavy scheme where he's playing off, he's just don't let anything get behind you and just let him win at the catch point and be aggressive and things like that, coming down on the brakes, he could be very good. And I do believe that. That's why I believe he can go in the first round here to the Giants. But he's not that here. He's going to be a prioritized blitzer with Wink Martindale. I think it's just getting bodies in the CB room. While having, I think he can come in, play the slot pretty effectively for Wink Martindale. The 26th pick, Dallas Cowboys select Bryan Bresee. He's really fell. He was a top 10 pick back in January, and now some people struggle to put him in the first round. Be included, I won't lie. His pros, he has a good combo of size, strength, and agility at D-tackle. He knows how to use his hands in combat, and he has solid burst off line of scrimmage anywhere lined up along the D-line. His cons, he has less than 1,000 snaps in college, injuries, and life. Just period, took him off the field. If you don't know his story, I'll mention it here next. And his technique is still spotty, never developed because just not enough playing time, didn't play enough. But what I'm talking about, he tore his ACL, freshman year, he looked like a top 10 pick, top 5 pick. Next year, sophomore year, tears his ACL, and then in his second game or first game maybe, and then in 2022, his sister actually died of cancer. And so, I don't know about you, but I feel like if something that tragic happened in my life, I would not be thinking, football would definitely not be first. So I do believe Bryan Bresee had a lot happen off the field that affected him on the field, but and that's why you're still banking on that talent from freshman year. You're kind of going, this is what he was before. Can we channel that? And I think Dallas is in a place where they just need one more. I look at that roster and I'm like, this roster is very, very talented. I would love Jahmyr Gibbs here if they didn't have Tony Pollard. Bijan Robinson has been the pick all the time, but I don't see Bijan Robinson making it to 26. Someone is going to value him before, whether that be the Eagles, whether that be someone in the middle who just values a guaranteed playmaker at running back. I don't know. But just put a pass rush heavy interior D lineman and Bryan Bresee just go out there and win. Go out there on that third down and just eat up the bodies and be able to make an impact. And I think he has the ability to do it. He didn't have the ability. He didn't have the possibility to do it because of everything that happened to him. With the 27th pick, the Buffalo Bills select Darnell Wright, tackle out of Tennessee. Pros, huge frame mixed with above average athletic testing. He works very well in double team and combo blocks. And he swallows up defenders who just try and bull rush him with speed to power. Example, Will Anderson. Go watch the Will Anderson tape against Darnell Wright, and you do see more so than, oh, Will Anderson's not a blue chip. You're kind of going, hey, I want to see more of 58. And you go watch 58, and he's very good. His cons, he has little to no bend out of his tackle stance. He gets beat with speed more than anything. Only meaningful production. I think he was a 4-year starter, came in 2022, and he doesn't show much technician qualities more than a bear hug finisher. And that's why I kind of project him as an oversized guard. I think this guy could move inside and be very impactful. And I think putting him with the Bills, it's kind of just me getting him in the room with Buffalo, kind of going, let's evaluate him. Let's have him here. If we need a tackle, he can play right tackle. But if we want to maximize this team and maximize Darnell Wright, I think moving him inside would be a very good idea and will pay dividends. The 28th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, I also keep making this pick, Michael Mayer. He's Jason Witten. He's Jason Witten. And putting that alongside T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd. I could see Jordan Addison here, but I don't want to take Jordan Addison here. I don't want to take Jordan Addison over Michael Mayer, who I know is going to be an impactor immediately. He has ideal style and size for the modern day tight end with a good mix of blocking and receiving ability. He has good hands and strong upper body strength to make him a versatile threat in the pass game, and he has good body control, giving him an above average catch radius for his size. His cons, he doesn't generate much separation due to his average at best athletic testing, needs more time as a run blocker, doesn't win at the point of attack frequently, doesn't have the long speed to be an over-the-top receiving threat. He is Jason Witten. Put him in this offense, and you're going to go, oh my goodness, how did Michael Mayer have 65 catches with 800 yards and 4 to 5 touchdowns? You're just going to put him around these playmakers and go, hey, Joe Burrow, find this matchup. Oh, the matchup is just not there on the outside. This guy's going to create that matchup. You put a linebacker, you put a safety on him, he's going to be overwhelming. So I do believe that Michael Mayer is a good long-term play for the Cincinnati Bengals and short-term play, which I think they should be thinking at 29 or 28 because they have Super Bowl aspirations, especially with how last year ended. With the 29th pick, the Seattle Seahawks select O'Cyrus Torrence, who I mentioned with Jalen Carter. His pros, he mauls at the line of scrimmage in the run game and easily moves guys off the line of scrimmage with his power. He's very, very experienced, has over 3,000 snaps as a 4-year starter at Louisiana and 1 year at Florida. And he plays with attitude, toughness, and nastiness, which you can just tell sets the tone for the whole O-line group. His cons, he shows sign of struggle when lined up against athletic pass rushers, somewhat overextends in the pass game, which leaves him susceptible to counters, and not athletic enough to overwhelm mental mistakes at the snap. So he wins with power. He is strong. I think they lost Gabe Jackson, just plugging in an interior offensive lineman. Again, just best player on the board. I feel like you would have gotten him at 20. They would have picked him at 20, but let's get some more draft capital down the line to move down 9 spots and still get the guy we want on our board. The 30th pick, one of my favorite players in the entire class, Will McDonald, edge rusher out of Iowa State. His pros, he's a versatile athlete with super length, I think almost 35-inch arms. Fires out of his stance and has unique change of direction ability as a rusher and as a true winning formula with his spin move. His spin move is unbelievable. I love guys who come into the NFL with a winning product move and a plan, and he does have that. His cons, he's a lean body type. He is just like Nolan Smith, but he has more length. he might need to gain mass to play down to down in the NFL. He is also 240, just like Nolan Smith, but he is 6'4.5" with, as I mentioned, almost 35-inch arms. He has an issue in containing his position in the run game due to this slight body type, and is yet to crack speed to power conversion ability. Just put him with the Eagles. Put him in that kind of revolving door. You have Josh Sweat. You have Hassan Reddick. You now have Will McDonald. This would make sense for Mozzie Smith, but I think you can get him down the line. It just puts more edge rushers in the room, which Howie Roseman likes to do. With the last pick in the first round, it's been a long video. There's a trade. I mentioned it at 4. The Colts will get a quarterback. They will need a quarterback. And they move up 4 spots, giving up a 4th-round pick to do it, to draft Hendon Hooker, quarterback out of Tennessee. His pros, he has ideal NFL pocket passer size with above-average athleticism. He has rhythmic passing style when playing on schedule from the pocket, and his footwork and mechanics. Seriously, I've gone back and watched it. He has some of the best and most consistent footwork in the pocket, but it's also thanks to the college offense. He worked in a very gimmicky offense, which he wasn't forced to read the field as often as others in this class. It was very, I'm going to throw to this guy. This guy's going to win. Hit him in stride. And sometimes when it wasn't there, he was just, let me roll out, let me move, let me, maneuver out of the pocket. And coming off an ACL tear, I don't know how that will work. He is 25 coming into the NFL. I have, when we first mentioned that was kind of a major concern, but as I've gotten more into it, it doesn't seem as much of a concern. If he's good, he's good. It just doesn't give him much room for error. It doesn't, if he sits on the bench for a year, maybe with the Colts, he comes in and starts year 1. But if he comes in, and he's going to immediately put pressure on Gardner Minshew if Gardner Minshew's the starter. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about him, and he has a little to no experience on throwing within the NFL hashes of an NFL field, which is very important in the NFL game. So that's it for the NFL mock draft. Notable players still available I wanted to mention. I think Kalijah Cansey, as people think, should be a first-round pick. Jordan Addison, Cam Smith has been mocked. Adebaware, edge rusher / D tackle out of Northwestern. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, could probably go in the first round. John Michael Schmitz, the best center in this class. Drew Sanders, the best linebacker in this class. Darnell Washington, one of the best tight ends in this class. Anton Harrison, the best remaining tackle, and then Jartavis Martin. That was just me wanting to mention him because I think he's an immediate athletic freak. So I do believe someone's going to value that early. But hope you enjoyed. Make sure to click the links in the description. My Twitter, Spotify, my podcast will be in there for more exclusive Bust-worthy content. Thank you if you made it to the end. I want to say comment something below. Comment your favorite team. Comment if you liked my pick for your favorite team or if you didn't. And just I'll hit people in the comments, kind of just like if you have a question for why I think this player is going here, why I don't like this player as much, just tell me and I'll get to the comments. I want to, interact with people on this video. So that's it for me. Thank you. If you stuck around for 74 minutes, you are unbelievable. You are awesome. Click the like button. Click the subscribe button. There will be more content like this with the draft in 14 days, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one.